Alright, I'm not sure how long I'm going to play today. Maybe just an hour. Don't really have much to talk about today. I don't know. See if I can think of something. The Mario Galaxy movie is coming out in a couple days. I'm pretty excited for that. Not like going crazy with hype or anything, but like the first one was fun. If this is more of that, it will probably also be fun. I do hope they heard some of the criticism of the first movie and didn't just ignore it because it was so successful financially, with having more I don't know, just a better story. The first one, like, I'll give it a bit of a pass, because they had to do a lot of world building and introduce all the characters and like make all the Mario stuff make sense in a world that is interesting to watch. Even if you go in knowing everything about Mario, it's still like, okay, but they have to... You can't just jump in to... Oh, Bowser showed up, we have to go beat him, like the games do. They had to lay the foundation for that movie to work at all, and for future movies to work as well. But now that they have that foundation, I think it would be reasonable to, hear the criticism, kind of focus more on giving like interesting character arcs. And they've definitely they directly addressed like one of the big points of criticism of the first movie in the last presentation, where they were called out that, okay, the brothers are going to be together the whole movie this time, because that was it was the Super Mario Brothers movie, and their interactions were very fun when they were together, but then they were separated at the end of the first act, and didn't interact again until the end of the movie. So so that was a point of criticism of the first one, and they directly mentioned it. So like I am hopeful that they have kind of heard the criticism. I've seen a lot of people like freaking out, getting real mad about it. Like ever since, I don't know what it is. Like ever since the movie, like every time they reveal something, people are just really mad that it isn't. I don't know. I don't know what they want it to be, but it's. And there's a lot of like jumping to conclusions. Like, okay, they revealed that Fox is in the movie, and a lot of people are just like, oh my god, they're just making a Smash Brothers movie. And it's like, come on. They're not making a Smash Brothers movie. Mario goes to space and Fox is going to show up for a few scenes. Like my thought on that is that Miyamoto is old. He's going to retire soon. And his entire foray into movies and theme parks, he has been prioritizing his creations, his favorite creations. So we got the Mario theme park, the Mario movies, Zelda movie coming up, the Donkey Kong theme park. He just is also sneaking Pikmin in everywhere he can. he loves his Pikmin. And he also loves Star Fox. Like, Star Fox is... Like, those are, it seems like, Miyamoto's big five. His 5 favorite creations at Nintendo. Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, and Star Fox. And Pikmin. And so, like, yeah, so his movies and his theme parks, he's been kind of leading the charge on that front. So he has been focusing on his creations and, like, but because he is old, because he's going to retire, and he wants his favorite creations to be in a good place, so that they will thrive after he's gone. Because it's like a thing at Nintendo where they don't like working on a series if the people who originally worked on it aren't there to work on it. So that's like a big thing with like why Smash Bros has to have Sakurai. It's like it either, you know, also sometimes they'll pass it down, but it's like each series is like a guy's series, like one person, not one person, but there are a few people who kind of like this is their series, and we're probably not going to make a new Metroid if Sakamoto isn't involved, right? And you know, and it's not like a hard and fast law that they never break. Like Kid Icarus Uprising didn't have any of the original staff on from the original Kid Icarus. But yeah, like, so essentially, like, if they can't get Star Fox into a good place now, if Miyamoto can't kind of get Star Fox into a good place now, the chances of it continuing to exist and like get a revival down the line are much smaller. So I think he just like really wants Star Fox to be in a good place, and like he's like, okay, well, we're doing Mario in space. We got a lot of wacky characters up there. Like the first Mario movie already established that like Punch-Out takes place in the same universe, so it's not that crazy to have another Nintendo series take place in the same universe. And yeah, I know Mario was the ref in Punch-Out. But Mario made a lot of cameos. So yeah, I'm sure like Fox is just gonna show up for a couple of scenes, maybe have a cool action scene, and then like give the brothers a ride, and then kind of just be like, oh, I gotta go off. Like, he's not gonna be central to the plot. This isn't, oh my god, they're turning this into Smash Brothers. This is Miyamoto wants them to make a Star Fox movie in the future, so he kind of did a little backdoor pilot sort of thing, sticking Fox in this movie. I also see people keep on saying like, oh my god, the movie is just so jam-packed. There's too much stuff in it. There's no way you can possibly tell a story with all of this stuff in it, and I don't know, like, have people watched movies before? There are a lot of movies that do a lot of stuff. Have you ever watched any of the Lord of the Rings movies? Yeah, those are all twice as long as the Mario movie. But this adventure structure where the heroes kind of go to one place and encounter some obstacles, overcome those obstacles, move on to the next place, encounter more obstacles, move on, is a pretty, like, classic story structure. I mean, that's the Odyssey. It's the Odyssey, it's the Hobbit, it's many video games. That is the Mario structure. It's like you're going to find a fun level and then encounter some wacky stuff and then move on to the next level. So I imagine that is generally how the first Mario movie was structured, except it was more like, I don't know. That one was weird because, like, they weren't going from point A to point B. They kind of, we got some stuff in the real world, and then the brothers went to the Mushroom Kingdom, and then they went to DK Island, or what they call it, the Jungle Kingdom. But then they went back to the castle, I think, to defend it. I don't know. I guess the structure of the first one was kind of weird. But this one I kind of expect it's going to be like, we're going to get an intro, and then Bowser takes the castle, and then Peach and Mario are both split up, and they're both kind of going, like, both venturing across the galaxy, or the galaxies, I guess, to try to get to Bowser and stop him. And it's just, I think it's going to be that typical story structure where they find some weird guy and some wacky stuff, some wacky situation. They get through it and then move on to the next one. Except with, there's probably going to be the two groups with, like, Peach and the Toads in one group and Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi in the other group. And, like, I don't think what they've shown suggests an overstuffed movie. I don't know. We'll see. I do hope it's good, and I hope it is well received, and I hope, the first Mario movie wasn't like a fluke. Because it does seem like they're kind of like really leaning into the movie stuff. And I would like for the movies to be successful so that we can get more Nintendo movies. I mean, I think yesterday I was talking about, like, other movies, or not yesterday, or at some point I was talking about, like, other movies they might make. And there's a lot of Nintendo series that I really like that I think could make good movies. And also, series that could maybe do with a bit of a boost in popularity from getting a movie. Like a boost in mainstream recognition. Like, putting Star Fox in the Mario movie, maybe that generates interest in a Star Fox movie. Like, it definitely feels like that is that is the plan. Like, it's not necessarily set in stone that they're going to do a Star Fox movie next, but getting Glenn Powell to voice Fox feels like, okay, we're gonna put this character in the movie, and he's gonna be cool, and people are gonna like him, and then they're gonna want and be like, oh, hey, we want a movie about that guy, so we'll make a movie about that guy. Like Metroid, I think, could be a very good movie if done right, but there are a lot of ways I think they could do it wrong. I think the trouble with Metroid is that it would be best suited for like a harder PG-13, possibly even an R rating, but I don't know if Nintendo would want to do that. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it necessarily needs to. That's what I'm saying. Like, Metroid has always been not a horror series, but horror adjacent. Like, obviously, it was very heavily inspired by Alien and H.R. Geiger, or Giger, which one is it? And, Super Metroid especially had some pretty shocking imagery for an SNES game. But, like, structurally, I've said it before, just do Predator Badlands. That was basically a Metroid movie. Flex my wrist. Ugh. Like Kid Icarus has, I think, would make a great animated movie. it has, you know, such a wacky cast that is very memorable and deserves like more. I don't know, the fact that the like we only got one game with the characters like that, but you know, technically we got two Kid Icarus games before that. But they didn't really have the characters that made Uprising so great. Like, they were technically there, but the personalities that kind of made this series worth being a fan of, if that makes sense. Like, weren't really there until Uprising. And that we haven't gotten I don't know, anything anything else with those characters since Uprising, which is almost 15 years now. I'd even settle for just a Switch remake or port, so I can play the game again without hurting my hands. But yeah, like I feel like Kid Icarus, that can make a great animated movie. I mean, in terms of like marketability, obviously the top ones are Mario, Zelda, and Donkey Kong. But past that, say Splatoon, Animal Crossing. They get hard to get when they get up there, further up there when the weird shape kind of does weird stuff. But they're not lined up, is what I'm trying to say. I think Fire Emblem could be good. I mean, I think Fire Emblem would work better as a TV show, because it's such like, you know, it is a very Game of Thrones style thing with like a large ensemble cast and everyone has their own motivations and and also the fact that Fire Emblem is like so disconnected. Like, would you tell an original story or would you adapt one of the games? I don't know. other Nintendo series can make good movies. I've talked about F-Zero before. Like, genuinely, I think that has a lot of potential for some sort of adaptation. And the anime annoys me because like, I think what is interesting about F-Zero is that you have all of these characters who are like, they all have just oddly developed backstories. Like, it feels like a comic book universe that never happened. Because it is, heavily inspired by Western comics. It literally started as a Batman game. Like, they wanted to make a Batman racing game because they saw the Batman movie and they were like, oh, that's cool, let's do that as a game. I don't think they ever, I don't know if they ever planned to try to get the license, but it was definitely, it was inspired by Batman. Specifically the Burton Batman and his Batmobile. So they kind of made, like, at first there weren't many characters, it wasn't very well developed. There were only, I think, the 4 characters in the original F-Zero, and they don't even appear in the game, they just appear in, like, artwork and stuff. But then in F-Zero X, they, for some reason, were like, yeah, let's develop 30 completely distinct characters. They all have their own unique vehicle. And then, like, F-Zero GX kind of took that even further, introduced even more characters, like, gave them all backstories. They may have had the backstories in F-Zero X. But yeah, like, they... Like, it's this whole universe with all of these characters, and it's like, oh, this is how this guy became a racer. Here's why a dinosaur is racing, and here's, why, this guy is allies with this guy, but enemies with this guy, and, like, there's this whole story that's never actually been told, except through the profile stuff. There's just, like, a lot of untapped potential for, like, an interesting world and an interesting story and interesting characters. And that's why the anime annoys me, because it was like, okay, we're going to take all these characters who had, like, different motivations, different allegiances, and different backstories, and then all of them are just, like, they join the same space cop group as Captain Falcon. Like, just all the characters are part of the same organization, and all of the characters are space cops, and bad guys are part of the evil organization, and it was just like, I don't know. And then the main character is an original character for some reason. I don't know, like I can imagine an F-Zero anime that's sort of a an ensemble thing where every episode they kind of like explore this character, and the next episode they explore another character, and just like tell a bunch of stories in the F-Zero universe with like some interconnection and stuff. Like, obviously there's got to be some sort of like, you can't, I mean, you could technically do like a completely disconnected thing, but that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm saying like something more like Lost, where you've got this ensemble character and there is kind of a main plot in the present moving forward, but we will kind of do flashbacks to show like, oh, how did these characters get involved in the race. And then like a big part of the show is exploring the characters and their backstories and their motivations and yeah. That's why I always thought like F-Zero had potential for something. Also, like, Speed Racer is one of my favorite movies, and the reason I went to see Speed Racer, well, one of the big reasons was because I was like, hey, that reminds me of F-Zero. And so like the idea of getting more action like that on the big screen, maybe not exactly like Speed Racer, but the kind of like fast-paced futuristic racing. I mean, also, you know, Tron, like the light cycles are always a highlight of each movie. I just really like that kind of futuristic racing, just unrealistically fast. I loved the pod racing scene in Star Wars as a kid. Kind of didn't find out until sometime later that was like unpopular. That was in an unpopular segment of the movie. Because I always thought it was like, yeah, a lot of stuff about episode 1 wasn't good, but like at least the pod racing was cool. But apparently it was not a part of the movie that a lot of Star Wars fans liked. I think it's better liked now. Like the prequels in general are much better liked now that like millennials have grown up. Like millennials who grew up with Star Wars have grown up, and Zoomers who even grew up with Clone Wars, and sort of which is sort of unfair because it's like a Zoomer watching episode 3 is like, oh, this is like the big climactic finale of the show I like. But if you just watch the 3 movies, it's like, oh, these characters aren't very well developed. Like if you watch Clone Wars in between episodes 2 and 3, you just know and care about these characters far more than the movies make you know and care about them. Like Obi-Wan and Anakin are like, yes, we're such good friends. We've always been such good friends. We're like brothers. Um, but then in the movies, like, they pretty much only argue and bicker. It's like they never show them being good friends. But then you watch the Clone Wars and you're like, oh, okay, this is where they were good friends. We just didn't get to see that in the movie. So if you've watched Clone Wars, you know, the big episode 3 fight is the big tragic conclusion that it was supposed to be. And if you know, watch the movies when they came out, or just haven't seen Clone Wars, you just don't really get that version of the story that it was supposed to be. I guess I can do this. Red. Alright. Is there a... How am I doing? 5-4. Oh, yeah, this room. Okay. So this room is a bit sneaky. I can't remember if I did. There's like 2 rooms that use a similar gimmick. Can't remember if I already did the other one. But let's see. Surprised they never made any more Pokemon movies. I thought Detective Pikachu was pretty good, and I thought it did pretty well. Kind of got, you know, decent reception. Did decently well at the box office. It was a fun little movie. And it was like I liked that version of the Pokemon world they established. I thought, like, it could have been very... Making live action Pokemon could have gone very wrong, but I think they managed to pull it off. Okay, so here's the gimmick. Because I did this side, I'm going to come back around. Oh. Huh. There we go. If you turn away, it like swaps. See, I'm gonna do this. Do a circle. Yeah. So that's the gimmick for this room, is that every side has two sides. But yeah, kind of hoping we get like more live action Pokemon. I thought that was pretty good, and I wanted to see like more different Pokemon in live action, because I thought, you know, a lot of, they were kind of creepy, but creepy in a cute way. And it is interesting how the games have kind of not totally started moving in the direction of the Detective Pikachu style, but like, you know, after that movie, we started getting games where the where the Pokemon had you know, more defined scales and fur and stuff, instead of just being like a flat colored texture. I guess the problem with a Pokemon movie is that I think that, you know, the core premise of catching Pokemon and making them fight is something that you can get away with in animation more easily than you can get away with in live action. And animation in video games. Because, like, we did get a couple actual Pokemon fights in the Detective Pikachu movie. Like, not battles with a trainer or whatever, but Pokemon fighting, and it was like, oh, this can get kind of brutal when, like, it's not animated. Like, it was, you know, obviously animated in the sense that it was, like, computer generated. They didn't have real Pokemon on set fighting. Not yet. They'll figure out how to do that eventually. But, like, in a more realistic style, that just feels a lot more brutal than, I think... Is that the only entrance? There's only one entrance in here, huh? It feels a lot more brutal than it felt in animation. I think that is why they went with Detective Pikachu, because it's like, okay, it's not going to be a movie about Pokemon battles. It's going to be a movie about just about a detective and like solving a mystery, and it takes place in a city where there aren't Pokemon battles except for the one, underground fighting ring. So I guess, there was the, like, if they were to continue making Pokemon movies in that vein, like, what would they be? You could do, like, Pokemon Snap, which, yeah, that could work. That could, have a character go on a safari to take pictures of Pokemon and then encounters a very big legendary Pokemon and stuff happens. Like, yeah, that could work, but if you're doing all the Pokemon spin-offs where there isn't Pokemon battling, like, eventually, I don't know, that just feels weird. Like, if you can't do proper Pokemon battling in the Pokemon movies, like, maybe they realized that was kind of a dead end, and that's why we never got more Pokemon movies. Or maybe they just weren't happy with how well it did. Because, like, it wasn't a massive success. It was, like, a modest success. And maybe they wanted massive franchise money. What they should do is just, like, keep making Detective Pikachu movies, and, like, every movie they find a new reason to turn Ryan Reynolds back into a Pikachu. Or they just, like, start the movie and he's a Pikachu again, and they just don't even address it. Or they have him say, like, wait, didn't you turn back into a person? He just says, I don't know. Yeah, but I liked being a Pikachu. I also wonder if Nintendo's long-term plan is to have their own animation studio. Like, you know how Marvel kind of started with, licensing out their properties to other studios, especially, you know, some really bad deals that they got stuck in because they were close to bankruptcy. And then that kind of became working with other studios to make those movies. Like, Kevin Feige's been involved in a lot of those movies before the MCU. I don't know if he was working for Marvel at the time, though, or if that came later. But yeah, like, Marvel didn't have necessarily the creative creative input on those movies, but they, you know, the early Spider-Man and the Raimi Spider-Man and the Fox X-Men movies, like, they were involved. Like, the pre-MCU Marvel movies, they were involved to some extent. But then they started doing like it was a whole thing with the first Iron Man movie. They were partnered with someone, I forgot which studio, was it like TriStar or something, to make that movie, and they kind of like bet big on the movie. Like, if the first Iron Man movie had flopped, Marvel would have gone out of business. But obviously it didn't, and the rest is history. But yeah, I'm wondering if like Nintendo might be following a similar path, because they have a Nintendo Pictures, and they have made a few shorts. It definitely seems like they want to at some point bring movie production in-house. Which, like, surely Illumination knows. Right? Like, Illumination's not going to be shocked when this happens and be like, what? You don't want us to make the next Mario movie? You want to make it yourself? might call it after this room. I am a little tired. Go. Did I do the honeycomb room yet? I think that's the next one I'll do. I hope, like, I was talking about Star Wars earlier. I hope the Darth Maul show is good. Like, he was such a... That was such a questionable decision when I heard they were doing it, like, bringing Darth Maul back in the Clone Wars, because, like, dude got sliced in half. He was dead. But... Oh, hello. I forgot this one. But I'm glad they did bring him back, because he wound up being like one of the highlights of that show. And also, you know, a case of like, he was cool in the movie, but he wasn't really a character. He was a set piece. A very cool set piece. But he, yeah. And killing him off at the end of the movie definitely felt like wasted potential. So I am glad that they got to kind of bring the character back and help him live up to his potential. I am disappointed that they teased a live action return at the end of Solo. And since that movie didn't do well, they basically completely scrapped all of their movie plans and made Disney Plus shows instead. So we'll probably not see a live action Darth Maul again. But you know, what can you do? But that's like another one of those cases where I don't like to jump to conclusions. I don't like to make judgments based on an announcement, because I have been wrong before. When they said Darth Maul, they were putting Darth Maul in Clone Wars, I was like, well, that seems like desperate fan service. And that's very dumb. That doesn't make sense. You're bringing back a character who was definitely dead. And I was wrong. It was a good decision. And it improved the character. And improved the show. So, like, you know, seeing Star Fox announced to be in the Mario movie. I mean, I know his name is Fox, but just much easier to call him Star Fox. Seeing him announced for the Mario movie, you know, it's like, is it fan service? Yeah. But, you know, let them cook, man. Like, sometimes fan service also provides an interesting story. I don't know. Okay. Guess I'll do this. Where am I? Um, $15.75. I mean, you could probably reach 16 if I just did this room, but I don't know. I'm tired, so I'm gonna call it here. Yeah. All right.